Welcome everyone to Wellness Spring. Today I'm really blessed and honoured to be with a fabulous friend, Ruanna Segal, that I've met since I've been in Australia and travelling. She lives in Melbourne and just around the corner from my in-laws, and I've been to her lovely office, which you can see behind, and she is an extremely dynamic lady. She's gone from being a high-paid administrator for top jobs to, in 1990, she left this career to follow her esoteric passions and metaphysical studies. And now, from there, she opened a healing centre in Kineton in Victoria. I probably pronounced that wrong.
Kyneton.
Central Victoria. And today she's offering a variety of programs, including tarot, Western astrology, numerology, one-on-one counselling, and spiritual development programs. And like myself, she's a Reiki master and teacher, and I'm an aromatherapist, and Ruana is a wellness advocate and for doTERRA essential oils, and she's also an aromatherapist. And she's an author of Tarot Distinction book, and she can help you on all levels to be the best version of yourself. So yes, so welcome, Ruanna. And we actually first met on one of a community of friends called Vincent Mellon. The three of us are super genius creators, having done William Whitecloud's work. So Ruanna is intuitive like myself, and obviously we're both super geniuses and we know how to tap into the super conscious. But before we go into all the amazing work that you're doing, because this call's about you, could you please tell the audience about your background, where you grew up, and your education, and how you started in your corporate world?
Well, I've always lived in Moonee Ponds, Melbourne, and you know, I thought I'd never get out of here, but when I did get married, that's when we moved to Kyneton, and I was married for 20 years, and then I got divorced and came back to Moonee Ponds. And I'm actually living in it's a shop front with a dwelling at the back, and that shop front used to be my folks' milk bar. And so I grew up in this place from when I was very little. And now, you know, both my folks have moved on, and I've turned the shop into my little healing centre for myself, and I'm very comfortably living here. So so I went to school around here, and, you know, did the right thing and got that corporate job. I was a manager of an admin and for telecom back then. Now it's called Telstra, working at head office and in the city. And it was, I suppose at that time I was, you know, in the marriage looking for something more. And that's when I started to do a lot of self-development programs. I did Landmark, of course, and there was another wonderful program called Money and You, which I absolutely love, because that's when I got introduced to Buckminster Fuller, which I do for the last 30 years as well. I've been doing environmental work with an idea that he had, or some works that he pursued. And so, you know, and then 30 years ago as well, I fell in love with astrology and tarot, and I felt like I came home to, you know, I know this, you know, and I love the people that were involved with all of that as well. And I was so passionate and excited about it that people would say, oh, teach me. And 30 years later, I'm still teaching it. So, you know, that's how I sort of fell into it, you know, like magic, you know.
Yes. And have you got any siblings or?
No, I'm an only child. And
Right.
unfortunately, we weren't able to have children in the marriage because of his issues. So it just left me a lot of time to do all this studying and read books. And, you know, when I started on this pathway, there was no Google back then. So it was either through the people you knew or through books. So I've got a numerous amount of books. So, yeah, and that kept me busy, you know. So.
Yeah, and I know from having met you live a couple of times, and you're a very busy person with all the foundations and the organizations of voluntary work you do. So would you like to tell us some about GENI, for example?
Yes, the GENI Foundation. So Buckminster Fuller, in his book, Critical Path, there's a little one sentence where it says, the more energy a country has, the population growth seems to go down or stabilize. And this is what's happened around the world in the first developing worlds like Australia, you know, US, Europe. There's zero population growth because the standard of living is so high. But in the developing worlds, there, you know, where there is no energy, you know, they have so many children and half of them die, and there's no irrigation, sanitation. So I fell in love with this project. You know, there were other courses I could have done, but I thought, if I just get involved with this project, all those lessons and learnings that I can get from those workshops, I can actually get it from this project and then actually do work in the project at the same time. So, and the whole project is about sharing electricity, renewable energy around the world, meeting the peak demand as it flows around the world, because that's when we need to actually start up a new generator between that 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the middle of the day. And at the end of the day, what do? We ground the energy because we don't have batteries big enough to store all that energy. Whereas the GENI Foundation says, let's just move it along to the next time zone. Let's move it along to the next time zone. And slowly it'll come back around to us. So it's about connecting, you know, all the continents on a continuous electrical grid, and sharing the abundant renewable energy that we can tap into. And a quote from one of Bucky's books, I don't know exactly which book or where I read this, but I remember it said, when the world is literally linked up on electricity grid, sharing that energy, it's proof that we're metaphysically cooperating.
Wow.
So that's where, you know, I fell in love with this project, and it's the biggest world game I know to play. So,
wow.
and I've met some wonderful people, and I'm still learning. We've got a fundraiser. We do a fundraiser for World Environment Day in June every year. So we're just blasting a lot of you know, memes and invitations for people to come along to a comedy night. Like, let's get together and have a laugh and raise funds for the projects that we do as well. So, yeah, it's a big project.
Wow. I'll put it in the notes as well so people can get in touch. And obviously, for the listeners, you can contact Ruanna directly and get more information. And because you talked about changes, what do you see or predict changes that are going to be happening in the foreseeable future?
Oh, I think the change is already happening. And it happened in, what year was it? Was it December of 2021 when Saturn and Jupiter both went into Aquarius? It was on the 21st of December, which is the summer solstice here, and it would be the winter solstice where you are. And the 21st of December. So it's like a couple of days before Christmas Day, and these two planets were so close that it looked like they were calling it the Bethlehem star. And the elections in the US were on, and when I saw that these two planets were going into that Aquarian energy, because Aquarius is all about the brotherhood of man, and everyone coming together on the same page, and that real age of Aquarius, breakthrough and new technologies. And I knew that Trump was out, because he's part of that old Capricorn Saturn energy, controlling and wanting to be the CEO of the company, and look at me, and that's about the position and the status. Whereas Aquarius is all about, to hell with that. We want freedom for all. We all want to be, in this, all for one and one for all energy, all right? This community service, and being aware of society, and what betterments can we do for society. So that to me was a really big shift. And that's where, we've still got Uranus happening at the moment. It's in conjunction with the sun at the moment. And also on the last weekend, we had a full moon in Scorpio, and, Charles was coronated. He's a Scorpio. But also this Uranus and the sun energy, it's all about transformation. We're going through a major transformation, and it doesn't happen over just one weekend. Like, to me, it started in that 2020 through COVID, really. That was really brought us back to basics, didn't it?
Yes.
So it's, and things have, the Me Too movement was all happening, and so it's all about this transformational change. But the bottom line of it all is, we're all in this together, and it's how can we all benefit everybody, not just the few at the top. So that to me is the big change, which is all that age of Aquarius energy.
Yeah, because everybody's saying, all the spiritual people I know at the moment are talking about, we're moving into an era of love, peace and harmony, and everybody's shifting, and our vibration is raising higher. And even people who are not on their spiritual pathway yet, they are receiving information, and a lot of people are saying it comes through the water, the rain. And I know in Australia, for my 2.5 years there, I've been following the rain and the floods, and they're saying this is the way, because we all have to rise up and truly come from a heart space, and we all need to do this together. So you talked about the Me movement, or Me Too movement. Can you explain what that is for people who don't know?
Oh, gosh, that was, just people, whatever harm has come to women especially, to raise their hand and say, yes, it's happened to me too. Yes, it's happened to me too. Yes, it's happened to me too. Whatever form that could have been, like, some something verbally or something physically, but, so yeah. And it's just this awakening. And, even so, books are being affected at the moment, for example, because like Ronald Dahl books, that things have changed, and it was appropriate for the time, but it's not appropriate for that now. Some movies that have been altered, or you can't say or do those things anymore that used to be okay years ago. It's just not okay anymore, because we're more awake, we're more aware. And when we understand more, then we do better, don't we? And that's what, absolutely, to me, that this is all about. This is all that change. This is all part of that Aquarian energy that's coming through. So
fabulous.
This is part of the change.
Yeah, and you mentioned,
even today, look at the announcement today. Donald Trump is going to have to pay a few $1 million to that woman that he he did touch 20 years ago or whatever. And the courage for her to speak out against someone so, famous like that, and Weinstein's went down. Fox News has been, you know, put on attention. Like it's can't happen anymore. You know, it's people are waking up, and the more people are stepping up and saying what they need to say, then it's making it easier for other people to step up and have their say as well. So.
Yeah, I know, like, obviously philosophers and historians and astrologers have been recording history and saying everything happens in cycles. And they are saying now this is the time where old structures are going to fall apart and new structures appeared. And you mentioned Aquarian and water, and, you know, we will see lots of people, there will be chaos and corruption, because with any change, this happens. People are reluctant to change, but the change is going to come anyway. And like you're saying, people are standing up, and it's the era of power to the people, and people are having a voice and being heard, and also to the youth. We're having the youth being innovators and progressors and people coming together. They're saying this is an era of community and unity. So for the listeners, how can you support them? Like, what advice would you give them through this chaos? Because people, you know, when I was growing up, gods were like, you know, doctors were like gods, I should say. And the policemen were like gods, and the politicians, and you didn't have a voice. You know, you'd be too frightened. You don't want to bring shame to the family if you speak out, and so forth. So what help is needed for them?
Yeah. And, you know, we still need doctors and police, and and teachers as well. You know, I heard a very interesting he was a professor, and he said, you know, why aren't kids learning that much in school? You know, why are the grades so poor? And it's because they've lost respect for the teachers. You know, I saw on Facebook before, there was a student pepper spraying a teacher because the teacher took the phone away, because she was finding answers, you know, doing research on her phone instead of from her mind. Like, we've lost that respect for teachers. We still need to respect. They still have their place in society, but what people need to do for themselves to deal with all this change is they need to meditate. They need to you know, come back to the self. They need to journal. They need to maybe see a psychologist. They need to have women's circle groups that get that support and love from one another. You know, we can't just, there's a beautiful saying that you either step up and change with the flow, or you're going to get dragged through it. And, you know, if you need to, like, take responsibility for yourself. Why? Because it's your heart and it's your head and it's your life, and you have to take responsibility for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, so any workshop or books that you can read, you know, anything that's going to help you to open up and just, you know, listen and be that little bit more aware is, you know, as simple as reading a book. It can be.
Fantastic. And you talked about finding women's circles and so forth, because I really believe that women have to reclaim their power, because it's like the old-fashioned lampshades. Our light is already there, but now they have to remove the shade so they can feel and see the light, and also be a support for their children. And
that's right. I've been lucky that I've got a book club that's been going for 14 years, and we get together like once every 6 weeks. But last year, so many of our parents passed away. We were all at each other's, you know, funeral for the folks, supporting each other, you know, just something like that. You know, it was lovely.
Yeah, it's really important to find your tribe, find your community, and, like you said, support one another. And you talked about women and how we had the opportunity to change in the lockdown, and I know in Melbourne you suffered the worst in Australia, but during lockdown there was a lot of opportunities to grow and evolve and reinvent yourself. However, the domestic violence rose as well. And, you know, I know this is a global problem, that women, you know, the deaths in the world daily are outrageous. So how do you think women can deal with this?
You know, we need safe houses. We need people to, you know, not, if it's a difficult subject, we can't just ignore it, you know, because we've all, me too, we've all suffered on some degree or some level. We know how that feels like. We need to make it okay for people to come over, or to have you open your door to people, you know, like there's so many really good things that are happening in the world, through to you know, little apps on your phone that are discreet emergency buttons for help, that you're linking up with people. You know, we need to talk about it more. We need to make it okay, not sweep it under the rug or turn our back to it, because, you know, in the olden days you don't talk about it. You know, you go inside, you don't listen to the neighbor or whatever. Now we need to listen, we need to, and you know, and it's all changing, because we've got a powerful thing called a mobile phone that records everything and films everything now, you know. So it's just, it doesn't happen overnight, but we're definitely taking it to a better direction. Absolutely.
Yes, because I think as well, you know, if women are supported and they can get through these challenging times and know that they can seek help and seek advice. And obviously, you know, I know in France, in Nice, for example, when I was living here, there was only like one safe house for 16 people. The rest are day centres, Monday to Friday, 10 till 4, and then you go back to the same situation. And, you know, before it was certain cultures, but now it's like all backgrounds. So women need to stand in their power, reclaim their power, be the best version of themselves. So, you know, for anybody listening, you need to reach out and find the support in community. And you mentioned meditation's a good way. I used to do meditation with a group once a month. A meditation, what I found, what people would say to me, because when I had my healing centre in Rose Bay in Sydney, for example, helping women there, initially they're too emotionally, you know, distraught. So nothing would help them. So eventually they would, I'd teach them like a 5-minute meditation, or just even taking one breath. So that's an empowering breath, because just one breath is enough to calm your mind and bring you to the present moment. And then eventually, you know, they would have hand massage, feet massage, and then facial, because the only touch they would have known was physical. So it's really important, because we're all equal. We all have the right to be happy and live a purposeful, meaningful life. And I think one way to do it as well, because you mentioned about the phones, you know, find your groups and, you know, find your tribe. And also it's time to reconnect within and find your power within, and to go into nature and be with nature.
Yes, nature is a real big one. You know, when you're stressed, just that walk in the park, or, you know, a picnic in the park, or, you know, just walking around the block and looking at people's front gardens and flowers, and nature is the best healer. And with nature as well, a hobby of some sort, like pottery or drawing, art, music, you know, some type of hobby that takes that, you know, those hobbies that you lose time and track of, and you're like, all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. I've got to get to bed because I've got to wake up in the morning. Like just that simple thing that just takes you out of that horrible energy and puts you in that right space is healing. You know, it can be. I remember I used to be in a job that I didn't like, and I'd go to the toilet and I would just visualize that I was in a hammock between two palm trees, and I can smell the beach and I can feel the warmth of the sun. Just that 2 minutes of that visualization, I came out of that loo a different person, and I was able to like handle the rest of the day. Like these are, because everything's an illusion, right? So,
Yes.
you know, if you're not happy, then you can recreate whatever you want, and your mind doesn't know any different. It thinks it's there. So, you know, like that's how quick you can change. I remember once I was crying. I don't know what I was crying about, but my friend rang me, and I answered the phone, and she said, "How are you?" And I went, "Oh, I'm great." And I went, "Oh my God." I was like, my mouth was aghast because I was crying miserably. And in 1 second, I changed my state. I was fine. I'm like, oh my God, you know, like that's how quick it can change.
Yeah.
Remember, we have 70,000 thoughts in our head. You are not your thoughts. You are the one listening to all of that. So you have to be really careful at what you're choosing to believe. You have to pick your thoughts like you pick your clothes to wear every day. Like that's the power, and that's your responsibility for yourself, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. We have to take responsibility for our thoughts, and we can choose happiness. Happiness is a choice. And as you said, we get over 70,000 thoughts a day, and scientists say that 95% of them are the same negative, disempowering beliefs and programming that go round and round and round. And people could be living in a place with a beautiful view, like you can see behind me, of Sydney, where I was staying, but they don't appreciate the view because your mind is going around and around and around and around. Your eyes are open, but you're not seeing. So when we meditate, it gives us the opportunity of calming down these thoughts. And you hit the nail on the head when you talked about imagination, because imagination is key to creation. When you're in imagination, you are in the field of all that is. And, you know, it reminds us that we're not just these flesh and bones. You know, we are divine creators, and we can manifest the life that we deserve and desire. We can choose our purposeful, meaningful life, because, as you said, you can change it in one instant, one phone call, and your mood has changed from crying to happiness. And also, you know, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real or perceived. So you need to start imagining and dreaming big and making it happen.
That's right. You can always take it back to what's comfortable for you. But if you don't think big enough, how do you know you're never going to be able to create that? And you first have to have the thought, the idea, before you do anything with it. So this is, you know, our subconscious mind is very fertile ground, and you have to be careful what seeds you plant in there. You know, every time I hear someone go, oh, that never happens to me, or you know, I never get a car parked there, I'm like, stop it. That's not true. You know, that's just your past experience. Doesn't mean it has to be your future experience. You know, you know, change that to say, as of today, or in the past, that's what it was like. You know, leave it open for it to be whatever you want it to be in the future. No, the universe is so abundant, it doesn't care if you go there, as they used to say in The Money and You, spirit doesn't care, or the universe doesn't care if you go there with a bucket, a trailer, or a semi-trailer. It's up to you how open and how open you are to believing, to receiving that it's available to you. You know, how abundant are you? How passionate are you about it? as well, you know, raise your vibration, because when your vibration is up, that's what makes you attractive. That's what attracts people to you. It's actual physical, it's a physics thing. It's proof, right? That through physics, how this works. The more attractive you are, the more you attract. Therefore, you become more attractive. Therefore, you attract more, and on it goes.
Yes,
Like
the law of attraction.
Yes. Right.
Yes. And for the listeners, Ruana and I did the training with William Whitecloud, and I've done loads of other trainings as well. And we all have disempowering beliefs, which start from conception and beyond, because we're listening and learning from our parents. So fundamentally, we have 12 disempowering beliefs, and things are like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm invisible, I don't have the capacity, I'm not capable, and so forth. And it's a myth that we're going to get rid of them, but how we can evolve is by going, oh, when you're in tension and feeling stressed and anxious, you're usually replaying your dysfunctional beliefs and trying to prove them wrong. And tension is good because you can then go, oh, rise above, like you say, rise your vibration. And often I just do that with another conscious breath and put my hands on my heart and breathe up and say, what's the best thing for me right now? And I will go, look at me creating all this BS. I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to manifest, you know, I'm going to create. Or if I'm stressed, I put random alarm clocks every day in my phone anyway. And when they go off, I've got the words like peace, love, or joy. And then I just take in a deep breath. And if it's peace, I breathe in peace. And I say, if I was come from a state of peace, what would I be doing now? And then that's a good way of changing your thoughts and your behaviors and your beliefs and, you know, stepping into your God self or your super genius. And so the world is crazy at the moment. So why do people come to you for tarot, for example, or a typical session? What is the most common thing? And could you give us a success story? I know you have millions, well, at least thousands, but without giving names, you know, why do people come to you? Because I know with a combination of your tarot, astrology, numerology, talk to us.
Yeah, thank you. I think out of all that I have studied, tarot is the most popular because it's a very quick response to people's questions. And I think 80% of my readings have to do with relationships. And the other 20% is like, should I move house, or what work, how's my career going? And money's a big one as well, but that's the 20%. So, you know, I find people will come to have a tarot. I especially love people that have never had a tarot reading before, because they're just open to receive. They don't even have a question. I suppose people have a tarot reading when they're at that crossroad, that, you know, because we've got the ego and the patriarchal voice and the inner critic all telling us that we should be going this way, but really, you know, what about the other way? And is there another way? And so I think tarot is like a quick response for people before they go to see a psychologist if there is something wrong with them, to check in, is there an answer here, or can I, you know, is it going to confirm what I'm thinking, or am I going down the right path? And what I love about tarot is all the pictures are archetypal symbols, and we dream in symbols. We dream in these archetypal symbols. You know, I teach in Singapore as well, and, you know, they have a different language, but the symbolism, the archetypal symbols are the same. So it's primal stuff. And so I see the picture, I can interpret the picture on the tarot card, but you're seeing the picture as well. And on some level, you understand what that image, that archetypal image means. I mean, look at dreams, for example. Whenever you have a dream, you say to your friend, oh, I had a dream last night, and you start interpreting the dream. You start talking about the dream, and you go, oh, that means this. That's tarot. That's what tarot cards, it's like interpreting a dream, interpreting a picture, interpreting a message here. And you have to like flush it out a little bit, because there's so many layers. When I do a reading for someone that knows nothing about tarot, I can only go so far, but with someone else that understands symbolism or, tarot, even dream work, we can go to another level. We can really dig deeper. We can see through what's it's showing. There's something here. So yes, people, when people do their courses with me in 6 months, they are a totally different person to what they were when they first started with me. It could be career change. It could be in a relationship, out of a relationship. I remember one lady, she just wanted to have a baby. And for the 6 months, that's all she focused on and worked on. And in 6 months' time, she was pregnant. She put that energy into it. It's all sorts of things that people want to, aspire to, or live overseas, whatever that can be. It's just fascinating. The cards will show you, yes, you are on track, because they're really positive images, or bright, number ones and aces and things like that. It's like, yes, it's new, it's good, it's you're going there. Or if they're heavy cards, worrisome cards, they can indicate, oh, I'm not going down the right path. Okay, now I know what I need to do. I need to go the other way. Like, it can confirm. Usually when a reading confirms what you're thinking, that's a good tarot reading. It's not fortune telling. Today tarot really is a psychological tool that can really help you understand your process and help you to achieve what you're thinking of doing, dreaming of doing. So it's fun, and I love teaching people. I think I'm the lucky one when I teach people tarot, because I see their eyes open up. I see them change. So
fabulous. And how did you start teaching in Singapore? How did that come about?
I was invited to speak at the 2010 International Feng Shui Convention.
Oh.
He really liked what I did, and he invited me back the following year to teach. So he's like a grand master of Feng Shui in Singapore. So 7 generations of Feng Shui in his family, and he's now passed it on to his son, so the 8th generation. And he always wanted to like East and bring East and West together. So and I was available to travel to Singapore and to teach over there, and I've been doing that ever since. Over COVID, it went on to Zoom, and that's okay. So hopefully, I teach twice a year there now. So March and August, September. So hopefully, this year I can't go over there again, because I've got a 15-year-old dog, so I don't want to leave him with anyone. So happy to go Zoom. Also, they're renovating their offices at the moment, so it works this year for me not to go, but hopefully next year I'll be back over there. I miss everyone. I've made good friends over there, so I love Singapore. I love to get a bit of warmth on my back, especially around August, September, because it's really cold here again during that winter time.
Yeah, Melbourne's nicknamed 5 seasons in one day.
And I like that. I like the 5 seasons in the one day too. It cracks me up.
And yeah, because when I lived full-time in Nice and Monaco, I always carried a bag with different shoes. So I'd wear the flat shoes and then put the decent shoes on. And that reminds me, in Melbourne, whenever I visit the family, I've always got a bag with extra layers to put on just in case. And I guess that's about being prepared for change. And like you mentioned, you've been doing your work on Zoom. So, you know,
Yes.
how did the lockdown affect your business, for example?
It didn't affect me at all. In fact, I even got busier because people were looking around for things to do. So I had, you know, all my classes that were from my shop opened up onto Zoom, and I had people coming in from interstate. And in fact, all my classes since COVID, I'm happy to leave them on Zoom at the moment because I'm getting people from Perth, New South Wales, Queensland. I email the handouts to people. If they can't make a class, I record the class. You know, it's just so much better, and people are comfortable in their own home, and you know, they don't have to drive or go out in the 5 degrees in the one day business, and it's just opened it up for me. So I'm happy. I was very nothing really changed for me during COVID. I've always worked from home and from my premises here, and it was easier. It just, you know, it was comfortable. I was comfortable. So plenty of work.
Yeah. So obviously, because there's a different dynamics as well, because when you're live, you've got that live interaction and people face to face. Do you find body language, for example, because you're seeing a big screen with people on them, are they showing their emotions more, or, you know, how do you find that?
Yeah, it does. You know, people still listen. I know they're still listening on some level. So whether they're in front of me or on Zoom, there's no difference. I remember when I first started my tarot career, I used to work on a telephone line for about 3 years. And I thought, how is this going to work over a telephone line? Well, after 3 years later, not even a telephone line's going to intervene or hold back the love energy. Like it's everywhere. So whether it's on Zoom or face to face, it doesn't matter. In fact, before Zoom, I used to always do readings or teach with Skype. So, you know, I think since COVID, Zoom is a far better quality app. And I really like creating the breakout rooms when it's time to practice readings on each other. And I go in and out of all the rooms so that it's like a nice little intimate room for them, rather than, you know, spreading out on the table and there's no room for anything. So it's fun.
Oh,
and people that don't know technology, then they get to learn the technology, which is great, you know. So they're learning to change and to go with the flow as well.
Yeah, well, when I got into Williamsburg and became a facilitator, I was a dinosaur with technology, and now I just breathe through it. And like you say, the breakout rooms are great. Yeah, I feel so comfortable. And I think, like you mentioned, love, it's all about the heart connection. When you speak clearly, and also I think it brings authenticity, because everybody's eyes are on you and they can see you clearly, so they can pin you and you're just you on the screen. And people know when you're speaking your truth.
Correct.
And I think this is important to help bring forth this love energy and bring forth the truth, you know, the truth of who you are and what you do and how you can truly help people as well.
Right. You know, but going back to Buckminster Fuller, my number one mentor, he said integrity is the essence of everything. You know, like the chair that you're sitting on, if that wasn't built with integrity and you sit in it, it will collapse. He said truth. There was a little bit in the book, a young child asked him, what was the most important discovery you ever made? Because Buckminster Fuller received 47 honorary doctorates for his work for humanity and the environment, unheard of. And he still holds the longest list of who's who in the world, from author, poet, pilot, futurist, like you name it, right? And the boy said, what's the most important discovery you ever made? And he said, the importance of truth. And I don't know if you can see there's a map up there.
Yes.
I wonder if I can show it. I can't really make it any bigger, but it's a map that Buckminster Fuller devised, where he took the because we were brought up with the Mercator projection map, which showed up to 50% distortion on the planet. And he said, why are we lying to our children? And so he created this map where he cut up the globe into an icosahedron shape, which is like 20-sided little model, and opened it up flat. And you actually see Pangaea, as they call it, like one island in one ocean. It's not 7 separate seas and 7 different continents. It's one island in one ocean. And you know, so there was a while there when we were doing lots of work, festivals. We'd show that, just talk about that map and how people see, you know, America's over here and Russia's over there, when really there's only 15 miles between them across the Bering Sea, and it freezes over and you can actually walk across. Like we're so, you know, it's not what we've been taught. It's so he was very big into talking about the truth and teaching the truth, especially to kids, because kids know the truth. You know, humans, we know the truth when we're talking to each other.
Exactly. So, and you covered a lot there. And I think maybe you can take a photograph later and add it to the chat. And if you send it to me, I'll put it out with the replay when we put it on YouTube, etc.
And he also, on the map, it says Spaceship Earth, because another child, he asked a child one day, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the little boy said, I want to be an astronaut. And he said, do you know that we're already all astronauts on a spaceship called Earth? It's just, right, he just spits you out of the norm, right? He just tells you the truth.
Yes. Wow, that is so profound. It's like a light switch went off for me then. Right? Yeah. Wow. Yes, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's brilliant. And I think children are our future, you know, and it's so important to respect that and give the power to the children and the youth. So, you know, Brian and I,
we have to give them hope.
Yeah, and I think some schools are more progressive than others. So, for example, my partner's an engineer, and we've got a lovely engineering friend who's about 103 years old now, and he's incredible. And he went to Watson's College in Edinburgh, and he said to us, you know, can you visit the engineering department in the school, because I think you'll really love it. And we were going to do a project between Monaco and Watson's College. And we went there. My husband was blown away. He's like, oh my God, I wish I had this when I was in school. You know, it's very advanced. And they were making like motor cars out of recycled plastics, models of them, and so much more. And they put in a tender for an extension of the school, and it got passed, and they got to work with the architects and different people to actually make it happen. You know, that is giving power, and I think that's absolutely incredible. Beautiful. So I just wanted to talk about your book a bit as well. So Tarot Distinctions, how did that come about?
Thank you. Well, it's basically my tarot course in book form, and I was able to put a lot more into the book because, you know, and I thought it was time to create the book, because the same sort of questions I noticed kept coming up in each of the classes, and I thought I can cover all these questions in the book. And it was around the time that my mum, she passed away because of dementia. And so I was able to like spend that time working on the book. It took me like 5 years to write the book and then 1 year just to edit it all. but so much is in that book. And I really, you know, I've got so many books, right? So, but they're all like this thin, and they were black and white and half a page of this or 1 page on each tarot card. I wanted to do something that was Australian. I wanted to do something in full color. I wanted to add in there astrology, numerology, symbology, psychology, colors, whatever else connected with that tarot card. I wanted to do gold keys, like what, because in every tarot card there is a key, and once you unlock that key, you get that energy of that card, and you know, positive, negative words, and you know, just so much that, and in beautiful quality paper. I don't think I'm ever going to write another book, because I put my heart and soul into that one book, and yeah, and it's out there. You know, you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it from me, it's on audio, it's out there, and it's I don't know if it'll ever be a bestseller, but you know, people are always wanting to learn about esoteric studies, and that book is right up there, and I hope people can get their hands on it and you know, open up to archetypes, and you know, interpreting a dream, or you know, getting answers for themselves. So
thank you, and that's wonderful that you've put your heart and soul and shared all your life's wisdom and knowledge, because a lot of people hold back and don't give all the information, so that people will have to do your courses. But by putting it all out there, people can resonate. And I feel that when people see your integrity, then they're like, wow. And a lot of people will go, I've read it, I can do it, but I want to connect with this person and do the training myself, and you know, have a helping hand and be part of a lovely, like-minded community. So thank you. I know you're very well known in Australia, and through your power of imagination, maybe with the group you can see, or just by yourself, see your group as a best-selling book, if that is your dream. And just wanted to ask you, if there was one thing you could do to change the world, what would it be?
Oh, that's where the GENI Foundation comes in. You know, make everyone aware that we're you know, we're all connected, and we can all share the energy. And you know, to me, electricity is what can bring about peace on earth, and that's why I had to get involved with that project. And you know, and it's you know, one of the projects that we're doing locally is we want to put solar panels on pensioners' roofs. So we've got a Patreon page, and people just pay $3 a month. And you know, at the moment we're bringing in $50 a month just from that. And you know, once we get to the right amount, then we'll put solar panels on a pensioner's roof. And people are funny, because people go, well, if they're putting solar panels on, I want to put solar panels on, and on it goes. You see?
Fantastic.
So if we can like just do more of that, then it'll make other people want to jump on and do more of that. Next thing you know, we're creating so much energy. You know, all the solar panels on pensioners on people's roofs will be like another generator, that we're going to create so much energy that we're going to, oh, what are we going to do with all this energy? Oh, hey, how about we just move it along to the next time zone, you know, and let the energy flow, and so that everyone on the planet can have lighting, heating, irrigation, sanitation, refrigeration, have the abundance that, you know, we can all have.
That's fantastic. And especially because electricity is skyrocketing in price globally, and there has to be a natural way. Like recently we were because we're traveling around Australia, as you know, in a camper van. We met an elderly man who was from Melbourne, actually, and he said that he's a pensioner, and he was in Housing Commission. But he said, as your pension goes up, so does your Housing Commission rent. And he said he just couldn't afford to live. So he ended up letting his apartment go and living in a camper van. And now he goes around the sites and he collects the empty bottles of water people leave behind and discard, and he gets the 10 cents off each bottle just so that he's got some money to live. You know, this is extra money because the diesel and fuel has gone up, you know, the cost of living has gone up. And it's like, you know, Australia's not like some countries where you're taken care of through pensions and things like that. So it's like, how can we help? And you're doing a wonderful thing, and the association. And I think, you know, the message, like you keep saying, is about community and doing things together and, you know, making our world a better place. It's not about me, me, me. It's about the big picture. So
that's right. No man is an island, as they say. And also, just to clarify, the GENI Foundation is about linking up the whole world electricity grid, but it's also about supporting people that want to have their own standalone power as well. So, you know, the majority of people live in the cities, and that's where they flock to, and that's where the most energy is required. But if people want to live, you know, I mean, I always use the example of New Zealand. You know, New Zealand, North Island and South Island have been connected with an underwater cable for the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years more.
Wow.
And the majority of people live in the Northern Hemisphere. So the majority of people live in the Northern Island, and the renewable resources are in the South Island. So on the scale of the planet, the majority of the renewable resources are on the Southern Hemisphere. So it's about tapping into what is abundant and transmuting it, what's the word I'm looking for? Sending it to where people want to live. So, yeah. And New Zealand use 80% of renewable energy and only 20% of non-renewable energy. And Australia is the opposite. We're dependent on 80% of non-renewables and 20% renewables. And because especially here in Victoria, we've got so much black coal that, you know, I find the Southern Hemisphere, the pollution in the Southern Hemisphere is because of the non-renewable CO2 emissions that we're putting out there. So, you know, I like that we're more connecting now, and we're tapping into wind and solar. You know, people are becoming more aware. Buckminster Fuller said, as we, you know, use what we're using now, but as we need new power stations, let's all connect on the same electricity grid. So he talks about the high voltage DC, because some countries now use AC, other countries use DC, other countries use AC DC. You know, so it's about all connecting on that one type of grid, and then we'll be able to like share that energy around. I also use the example of how in Australia, for example, in every different state had its own train gauge until they worked out, hey, if we had the same train gauge, the train can go from Queensland through New South Wales into Victoria. So, you know, why did they do different train gauge? Why have we got different power usages around the world? But as we're becoming more connected, and some countries in Europe, for example, to stop another country using nuclear or non-renewable sources, they've gone, we've got so much abundance of this, how about we share this energy with you for free, you know? And also I'm aware that on many peace programs, like between North and South Korea, for example, or the PLO and Israeli, one of the first item on that agenda is to share electricity, to share energy. Like, it's just, you know, we're so dependent on it now that, you know.
No, it's wonderful. And that's
I can keep going on about it.
Yes, and I'm aware of the time as well. I know you're going to a wonderful event tonight. So on that note, look at the GENI Foundation, everyone, and thank you so much. And Tarot in Action.
Pages, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So thank you, Ruana, for giving up your precious time and sharing your amazing, wonderful tips and knowledge and wisdom. And keep shining, keep smiling, keep thriving, and keep being who you are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beverly. Take care. I've loved it. Thank you for making some space for me tonight or today. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Many blessings. Thank you.